Alright, lot to get to. Big win by the Eagles. I'm going to talk a lot about what their defense did so effectively, but I'm also going to be focusing mostly on Cooper Rush, and I thought that he had, it's an interesting game. Certainly, there was a lot of bad early on. Played pretty well to get them back in it, but, then there was some bad at the end as well. So, we're going to talk about all of it, and let's just get into it. Let's start off with some bad, because I'm going to go chronologically, and it started off bad for Cooper Rush and the Cowboys offense. Let's talk about why they struggled and what the issues were. So we're going to start off with this play, which this is kind of maybe a potential issue with Cooper Rush. If you saw my first video I made about him, where I kind of talked about how very good game manager, someone who, reads the offense well, reads the defense well, figures out where he's supposed to put the ball, and pre-snap, he's going to be in a good situation. It kind of reminds me of Andy Dalton a little bit. Of the pre-snap stuff tends to be very good. So on this play, a zone coverage play, you have a receiver who's going to get into a gap in coverage, and on paper, this makes sense. This is something that can definitely work out. But just because something makes sense on paper doesn't mean it always works out. A lot of times, defenders, especially smart defenders, which the Philadelphia Eagles have, they know ways that their defense can get beat and are on the lookout for that. So when Rush takes a snap and runs a play action, he fires the way that he was intending to fire. He was planning on going here pre-snap, but Philadelphia was prepared for it. Philadelphia said, okay, if they run a play action, there's a good chance someone's going to be going kind of, underneath the safeties, but past the linebackers. Let's make sure maybe we crash in and try to knock that away if possible, and that's what Philadelphia is doing right here. This results in an incompletion and then an interception, batted up and picked. You could sit here and say that's a bit of bad luck with the tip, but at the same time, balls get tipped when you throw it to someone who isn't open, so that is something that happens. I think it's fair to have a couple of takeaways with that play. One, this is potentially a downside of Cooper Rush's just quarterbacking philosophy, but also it takes a good team like the Philadelphia Eagles, a good coverage team like the Eagles to truly take advantage. Both things can be true. And this play is actually almost nearly an identical play. So it's again, we're talking 17-0 now for the Cowboys, so you're not in a great spot, but still, you don't want to make it 20-0. You don't want to make it 24-0. You'd like to get points on the board here and make it a 2-score game. Obviously, we know they would end up making it a 1-score game eventually, but for now, it's still a 3-score game. It's a 3rd down and 9. They're playing against a cover 2 man. You have a receiver who's running a route over the middle. So again, on paper, this makes sense. It's a good angle to throw to. There's nobody covering the middle of the field for Philadelphia. All this stuff, yeah, sure. On paper, look in that direction, I get it. And going over here, this time, in fact, it's actually going to be a little bit even more unique. And to me, I put some blame on Cooper Rush for that first one. Don't really put that much blame on him for this one because I think this is going to be a great play by Darius Slay. You see how it almost looks like he's getting beat right here. He's kind of playing behind the receiver, and a lot of times coaches will tell you that if you see a defensive back with their back turned, throw it in that direction because the defensive back can't play the ball now, whereas your receiver can because your receiver knows when the ball would be coming. The defensive back would have to guess, and if you guess wrong, you could get horribly out of position, so you pretty much have to just play the receiver at this point. The issue is someone like Darius Slay can guess right because he's just such a smart player. The second the receiver cuts over the middle, he also cuts over the middle. He reads that play so well, so when Gallup cut over the middle, he cut over the middle just because he said, okay, I know what route you're running, I'm going to go there. If that was a double move, he was getting burned deep down the field, but there is safety help there, so he was okay with doing that. That's just a smart play by Slay. It's part of what makes him such an incredible corner. To me, this one's less on Cooper Rush, more on just a great defensive play. Sometimes you got to tip your cap to the corner. So then how did the Cowboys get back into the game? Well, by doing what they did that got them in trouble in the first place, by running the offense, by putting the ball where it's supposed to go, because the reality is, yes, there are some negatives, but the positives are still going to work out more than the negatives are going to not work out. It's a man coverage play, and what's interesting here is it's actually Jake Ferguson who is the guy that CeeDee Lamb is looking towards. When when you have Jake Ferguson, you gotta one-on-one, you gotta take that chance. Elite receiver like Jake Ferguson, which is interesting because he's going up against James Bradbury, a really good corner. So it's a mismatch, but it's a one-on-one matchup in the end zone, and that's why Cooper Rush likes this. And again, this is one of those could easily be looked at as a negative if it doesn't work out. And look, right when this play begins, this isn't, oh, it's wide open, I have to take this chance. This is a true 50-50 ball, but he's going to trust his receiver, and he's going to play the X's and O's instead of playing the matchups. So got him in trouble on that last play where he threw it in Darius Slay's direction, whereas a lot of quarterbacks wouldn't have done that. However, here he makes a throw, and I mean, just an unbelievable catch. So maybe not the guy you would have thought would have that unbelievable catch, but he had it, so there you go. And also something like this, where they scheme some stuff up well. Seems like Dallas has done a good job of scheming stuff up so far this season. This is, I love this type of play. If you have an idea, zone coverage could be getting played, which it is going to be on this play. Philadelphia does run a decent amount of zone coverage, so it's a great concept to beat this coverage. Where watch how it works. Right when this play begins, you're going to see multiple receivers kind of running deeper routes that are going to eventually go over the middle. The only Philadelphia players covering deep is a corner and a safety, meaning that both of those guys are probably going to have to end up covering both of those Dallas players, meaning that that area could be completely cleared out. So for Dallas, when a tight end is going to now just slip over there, typically, the way you defend this is a Philadelphia player has to read this, recognize it, and get over there, but that doesn't always happen. As you see, that does not happen, and Cooper Rush is able to go over and pick up a big gain. So good stuff from the Dallas coaching staff, scheming stuff open, being prepared, and being able to help get your offense back in it, get some easy chunk plays for an offense that was struggling. This is what allowed them to start to get it together. And then, of course, finally, the dagger interception, the one that really, not cost them the game. The game was already really out of reach at this point, 2-score game, but this is what kind of, iced it, I would say. It's a very fascinating play because it's going to be a cover 3 zone that the Philadelphia Eagles are in. So Cooper Rush takes a snap, runs a play action, and with only a single safety deep, what actually happens here, I'm pausing it right now, you can't see it on the screen, but what's happening just off screen to the left is James Bradbury, that great corner for the Eagles, falls down. So you have a wide open wide receiver with only a single safety deep. It should be a big completion and a big chunk play. The issue, there's pressure right now, and a perfectly timed pressure can result in a huge swing, as instead of a big chunk play that, again, the game wasn't over at this point. It was looking dim, but it wasn't over. But instead, collision, safety's able to get over, get the interception, and that turns what could have been a big completion into an interception and just, a game over at that point pretty much for the Dallas Cowboys. So, very interesting game, I thought. Very, very fun game. Cooper Rush, we saw a lot of interesting things here. Yes, the plethora of interceptions is going to look bad on the stat sheet. I don't know if he deserved all of it. I don't know if that's entirely fair because, again, a little bit of flukiness here, right? That's always the case of interceptions. It's rarely just a perfectly clean interception. Usually there's some sort of flukiness involved. A great defensive play. That's not fluky necessarily because it's a great defensive play, but it's sort of fluky from Rush's perspective. And, getting hit at the perfect time, which results in a, kind of a pass not going where you wanted it to go, and instead going to a defender, and even a tipped pass. You could argue there's some flukiness there, but also, there was some throws that were dangerous and didn't work out, and there were some really good defensive plays. At the end of the day, I still think what makes this Eagles team so good, everyone talks about their offense, but their secondary is just fantastic, and teams that tend to go to the Super Bowl are teams that can throw the ball well and teams that can stop the pass well. And right now, the Eagles doing both of that and then some. They're doing a lot else really, really well on top of it, but they can pretty much do everything, which is why they're still 6-0 and still perfect. So yeah, that's what I thought about this game. That's what I thought about Cooper Rush and the Eagles defense. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.